Hello, and welcome back to the Greyland Trios League. I am Omar Krieg. You won't be able to see my face, just some stuff I've been dealing with on my settings for various things. At any rate, I'm Omar Krieg, and this is week 5, week in review, where we get the chance to take a look at the league as a league. Look at all the teams and see what they're up to for the past week. So, with that said, let's go ahead and get right into it. I need to activate the correct window. There we go. All right, starting off with our overall standings. American Industrialists enjoying their number one position as they have for the last couple of weeks, currently sitting at 50 cumulative victory points altogether and a win-loss record of 3 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. The Dragonborn sitting at 45, the Golden Suns sitting at 45, the Dragonborn at 38, and the Debutantes at 37, rounding out the top 4, and that is pretty much no change, no surprise for those teams as well. Currently, the Golden Suns are the only team under a technicality to be undefeated. The Dragonborn took their first loss this week, and we'll talk a little bit about that here shortly. We have had a little bit of movement with a couple of the teams. Number one, the Canopian Honeybees winning their match this week elevated them up by 1 position, which of course dropped the Torian Nationals down 1. Didn't help with their loss, and it looks like I forgot to update their score because they should be 2 and 3, 2 wins and 3 losses for the Nationals. Also, the Remoran opposition moved up 1 position with their win this week. The Wolverines, with their loss, they dropped it down 1 position. No big changes overall in the standings, but that is currently where we are sitting at. Let's move on to the next screen. Next up for the kills. I don't remember all of the kills, and we're not tracking all of them on this tracker. My raw sheet has every single kill tracked on it for the season so far. But we're only doing basically the top. I was going to do the top 10, but that would have left out everybody who scored 2 kills. I actually would have left out a handful of them. At any rate, some of these teams have been drafted away. In particular, we're talking about Takaram. Salama Omar was drafted this week. Delhay, Rickstad, Bamsi, I believe, has been drafted. Basically, the draft has been hitting the Dragonborn pretty hard, and we'll talk about that a little bit here in just a second. But leading the league in kills by individual, Alexandria Clift of the Lyran Debutantes with 8 kills so far this season. By far the number one killing machine, as it were. And for the team's combined kills, the Debutantes, Industrialists, Golden Suns, and the Dragonborn are leading the league by a severe margin. Debutantes at 9, Industrialists and Golden Suns. The Debutantes at 10, Industrialists and Golden Suns at 9, and the Dragonborn at 8. One team this past week finally got the kills in. I might be wrong on that. Actually, no, that doesn't sound right at all. But yeah, so here's where we're sitting at with the kills. Moving on, wealth and growth. Again, this is one of those that we're tracking just to keep an eye on how the wealth situation is sitting across all the teams. My biggest concern, of course, being that when a team isn't doing very well and they end up in a position where they just don't have any money in order to be able to continue through the rest of the regular season. But currently, all teams are sitting with a decent amount of wealth or more, and able to maintain and or repair sufficient number of mechs to have a legal team on the field. As you can see here, the Golden Suns have this season grown the most insofar as wealth is concerned, currently sitting at 130 wealth for the moment and an overall growth of 85 over this past several weeks. Industrialists not far behind with 114 and a growth of 83. We have the Debutantes and the Dragonborn kind of neck and neck, 84 and 89, and a growth of 67 and 57. And at the bottom end of things, the Spirits are the ones taking the biggest loss so far. They started the season with 25 wealth and are currently at 17. They're still viable, but their overall growth is a -8. The Crows struggling but holding on, and the opposition not far behind them with 9 and 16, and also a growth of -1 or -2. Drafting. We had some drafts happen this past week. As I recall, the Dragonborn lost somebody. Not a lot of people were actually taken up. However, the Honeybees, I believe, took their first big drafting loss, losing a pilot and a technician. The Industrialists also lost pilots and technicians to the order of one of the bigger ones, Salama Omar, jokingly referred to as my namesake, although my Omar, of course, is a given name. And in the case of this particular pilot, Omar is the family name. Let's talk about the individual matches. This week, Canopian Honeybees took on the Rock City Wolverines and literally, virtually outplayed the Wolverines at every single turn, and with not much extra energy or effort required, they won the match. It was a good match. I just couldn't get the Wolverines into a position of being able to do anything worthwhile, which of course brought about their demise for the week. The Honeybees are now 3 wins and 2 losses, moving into week 6. Davion Golden Suns, the only team currently having no losses, although that's barely a accurate statement, only under a technicality, as the joke goes. 4 wins, no losses, and 1 draw. They took on the Torian Nationals, and in this match, the Atlas literally outclassed an entire team, and the Golden Suns, it was just bound to be this way. There was just no way around it. Torian Nationals, of course, are a struggling team, but even with all that said and done, when you're going up against an Atlas, you really have to work hard to take it down, which of course then leaves you open up to the rest of Golden Suns team, which can still be pretty formidable. The Dover Crows, 2 wins and 3 losses, went up against the Remoran opposition, and in a surprising turn, couldn't withstand the opposition's Warhammer and had to take a loss. This Warhammer on the Remoran team managed to use some terrain and smoke and a few other factors, and just kept hammering the Crows Awesome, and there was just nothing that the Awesome could do effectively, as well as the rest of its team. Unfortunately, the Dover Crows took their 3rd loss of the season. Luthien Dragonborn, 4 wins and 1 loss. Kind of an upset here, I think. Definitely from the Dragonborn perspective, this is a major upset. The American Industrialists the Dragonborn, beaten by literally one of probably only 2 possible teams in the league that can stand up to what the Dragonborn have become. As we know, Dragonborn have a couple of advanced mechs as well as the Merrics, and it was only through superior, I don't even want to say superior, it was a really good fight, really good match. If you haven't seen it, you should go check it out. Obviously, I spoiled the outcome, but yeah, at the end of the day, the Merrick team just put a lot more lasers on target than the Dragonborn could put PPCs on target, and it was a really, really good match, and at the end of it all, the American Industrials came out on top. So, unfortunately, the Dragonborn have taken their first loss, but it was a really, really good fight. It had me definitely sitting there wondering if it was going to go one way or the other at various points throughout the fight. The Lyran Debutantes took on the Cyan Spirits, and Alexandra Clift once again doing the hard work, earning the kills for her team to get the win, earning kills for her own stats. And here we are now with the Lyran Debutantes looking at 3 wins and 2 losses as we move into week 6. Another good match. As I recall, the Spirits just couldn't get in a good position to do anything hard, get good shots in on the Debutantes. And again, Alexandra Clift looking to be one of the biggest threats as far as individual players are concerned in the league. American Industrialists sitting at 3 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. They went up and smacked the Dragonborn around only through sheer volume of fire by so many lasers. The Industrialists beat the Dragonborn, ending their 4-game winning streak. It was, again, I just talked about this a moment ago. It was a really, really good match. Several points throughout where I thought it was going to go easily in one direction or any other direction, and I managed to pull off a victory against the Dragonborn. We'll see what they bring to the table in week 6, however, because I'm sure there's going to be a couple of changes between the losses that they took this fight, in particular the pilot and technician that they had drafted, or maybe it was just a pilot. I don't remember exactly. Remoran opposition, now 2 wins and 3 losses. Again, the Dover Crows were their opponent. The use of smoke from burning woods to cloud the Warhammer and the Warhammer just consistently making their shots throughout the entire match. Suddenly, the opposition seemed to. Oh, suddenly is what that's supposed to say. And it looks like the opposition may have regained their momentum, and looks like maybe they can move on. They just got to keep winning matches, and I mean, obviously, that's how that's played out. But we'll see how it goes from here. Rock City Wolverines, 0 wins, 5 losses. The only team in the league to not have a win yet. They took on the Canopian Honeybees, and despite their best efforts, the Wolverines were literally just outplayed by the Honeybees. Nothing they could do to get a good hit, let alone the victory that they are currently very much desperately needing. Cyan Spirits. They took on the Lyran Debutants and completely unable to counter the firepower of an oversized Marauder, that being the Marauder 2 or the Mad 4A, as if my memory serves correctly. The Spirits were just dominated throughout the match. Their loss was, it was almost as if it was written in the stars. There was just nothing they could do. They certainly went out and gave it their best effort. It just didn't work out for them, unfortunately. And lastly, the Taurian Nationals, now 2 wins and 3 losses. You know, we started the season making jokes about the Taurians, and then they spent a couple of weeks doing really well. And then they went up against the Davion Golden Suns, and as you can see here, it's tough to win when your team is virtually mowed down by a lone Atlas that happens to have 2 other mechs working local security for it. And that's pretty much what happened. The Atlas was the center pin of the Golden Suns strategy, and the Hunchback and Jenner basically just were just basic nuisances, and the Nationals just could not overcome the deficiencies. Looking at our bracket projections, as mentioned earlier when we talked about the standings, we didn't have a lot of shake-up here. I think, in fact, the only thing that really happened is a couple of changes in position in the top 6, and then the bottom 4. Again, you know, we had a number 9 team go to 8 and a number 10 team go to 9 or something like that. So really, the only major change here was just a couple of outliers being flipped around. Next week, week 6, this is going to be the Commanders round week. This is what we're looking at: the 2-3 Crows going against the 4-0-1 Golden Suns. That will be our, I think, it looks like our one player versus player matchup this week. We also have the Debutantes taking on the Taurian Nationals, and Grimdark James has already made the statement that this will probably be the easiest match of the season for him. So maybe I'll have to pull out some extra tricks just to confound him. The Dragonborn taking on the opposition. Dragonborn being 4-1 and the opposition 2-3. And then we have the Honeybees taking on the Cyan Spirits, and the Wolverines taking on the Industrialists. And as much as I want the Wolverines to do well, and as much as they represent my home state of Michigan, they're going up against formerly my team that I managed last season. So this is not going to go very well for them. But we'll talk about that when we get to Olaf's predictions here. Let's talk about the Commanders round. Here are the notes, and these are the notes that my viewers are going to or especially my players, they're really going to want to know what these are. So week 6 is the second of 3 special round weeks. Week 9 being the final one, which will also be the final week of the regular season. But we'll talk about week 9 when it comes time. Let's talk about Commanders round. Each team must have a designated commander. Each team must work to preserve their commander while actively seeking to defeat their opponent's commander. And here's why. Defeating the commander ends the match, or once 10 rounds are completed as per normal, there are no other victory conditions, i.e., defeating 75% or more of your opponent's battle value will not end the match this week. You either finish 10 rounds and run out the time, or you kill your opponent's commander. If you kill your opponent's commander, you will have 10 points bonus added to your score. And if you end the match with your commander alive, you also get another 5 points bonus. So theoretically, if you go the full 10 rounds, you can get 15 points. But I'm pretty sure my bloodthirsty players and my bloodthirsty GM will definitely be looking for kills. All other scoring and match mechanics remain in place, and each team only fields 3 mechs as per normal. When we did the Grasshopper round, each team had an extra mech on the field. This week, it'll just be your normal team. As per any other week of the season, you just have to choose one of them to be your commander, and then you have to keep that commander alive because you know your opponent will be coming after them. So this should kind of, change the dynamics of the matchup a little bit to keep it from just being a normal slugfest and see who can beat who. With the additional part of when you kill your opponent's commander or you lose yours, the match ends. And then, of course, the 10, well, anywhere from 5 to 15 bonus points being added on top of any other scores that may have been allocated. Let's talk about Olaf's predictions. Dover Crows versus the Davian Golden Suns. I wish I could call this one. Both teams have the tactical acumen, but ultimately, I think experience goes to the victor, and I think that's going to be the Golden Suns. Nothing against Fohammer or my son. My son has surprised me a number of times through this season. But I think ultimately, just because Fohammer's got the better experience, I think that's who's going to win this match. We'll see. I want to support my kid, of course. But I think ultimately, Fohammer and the Golden Suns are going to take that win. Debutantes versus the Torian Nationals. This is an easy call to make. The Nationals have had a couple of good weeks, but they're going to have a hard time against the Debutantes with their new management. Grimdark James coming in and taking over that team versus the NPC team that it was previously. The Debutantes have really turned things around, comparatively speaking. And then the Dragonborn taking on the opposition, no question. The Dragonborn are going to take this one unless the Industrious left too much of a sting on them this week. Okay, I'm not going to lie. I was trying to make a little joke there. I was trying to play with Darius a little bit. Ultimately, I think Dragonborn are going to pull this one off. The sting of being beaten by the Industrialists will still linger for days and days, I'm sure. But I think somehow Darius is going to pull this one off. I don't think it'll be that too difficult for him. The Honeybees taking on the Science Spirits. This could be close, but ultimately, I think it's going to be the Honeybees that will make a good match of it and come out on top. And then Rock City Wolverines versus the American Industrialists. I mentioned this a moment ago. As much as I want both teams to win, like individually, and I definitely favor the underdog, which is the Wolverines. I think we all know what will happen here, and this is definitely going to be the Industrialists just kicking the bejesus out of the Wolverines in a very clearly one-sided match. Having said all that, for my players, over the next couple of days, I will be getting all of the behind-the-scenes stuff put together for Week 6, so that by Monday, Tuesday at the absolute latest, and that would be the, oh my god, I gotta look at the calendar here. No later than the 7th, I will have a schedule, or rather my time availability posted, so we can go ahead and get these matches started up and kicked off in 6. In the meantime, let me get back to this screen. In the meantime, my friends, I hope you've enjoyed the action that we brought. I hope you've enjoyed the season so far. We've got a few weeks left before the regular season is ended, and we go into the postseason Trinity Cup Championship playoffs. I'm looking forward to seeing what's left and what these teams can still bring to the field this late in the season. We've got a couple of good matches lined up, of course, and there'll be more. There'll be plenty more coming. So stick around, watch this channel, watch this space, and if you've enjoyed what you've seen, please come down to the Discord and hang out with us, talk with the players, talk with the other people here, talk with me. Although I don't know why you'd want to talk with me. I'm joking, of course. I like to think that I'm a pretty good guy. I don't know. I'll let you judge that. Anyway, we're going to get out of here, enjoy the rest of our day, and we'll catch you around. Have a good one, my friends.